Hi, it's me, Tracy, your literary and tea time companion, and I hope you will join me for a cup of Lady Grey tea or whatever you fancy, and have a little talk about books from our childhood. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we, with the childhood book tag. This is the childhood book tag, an original tag created by Fantastic Magical, and I was tagged by the very kind and lovely Pat of Book Chat with Pat. This particular tag, the creator, I don't believe this young person is creating anymore on their channel. I will link to it, of course, but I know very little about this person or the tag. It's a very fun tag, so thank you for creating this tag, and thanks, Pat, for tagging me and asking me to join in this fun. I will just go into the questions, and I had such a great time with this one, I have to say. It really did have me taking a walk down memory lane and thinking about some books from when I was younger that some of them I hadn't thought about in a long time. So question number 1, were you a big reader as a child? Yes, I loved books and reading as a child, and I have talked about that a little bit before. When I came into more reading comprehension as I grew, I loved reading more and more. And as the years went by in my teens, I would bring stacks of books home from the school library. Well, as many as I could bring. There was a limit on school library books, how many we were able to borrow, which honestly, I never understood that. A limit on books? No way. No way. But yes, I was reading as a child. I loved reading. Number 2, did your parents read to you? If so, what? Yes, my mother, my lovely mama, read to my younger sister and I when we were much younger. And I loved that. I loved story time. There was a lot of good reading, and we were often receiving books as gifts, especially Christmas and birthdays. I mostly remember very sort of age-appropriate fiction, for the most part, was read to us. And number 3, first bookish memory. I did share a little bit about this in a recent video, my Reading for Life video. I did touch on that a little bit. A very sweet first real memory of books was the school library and borrowing The Tale of Peter Rabbit and The Tale of Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle, both by Beatrix Potter. They were such sweet stories. And another book, which thanks to this tag made me remember, was a book, an illustrated book by Rosemary, Morris's Disappearing Bag. And this was a story about a young bunny. He was the youngest bunny in a family, and this is set at Christmas time. And sometimes this little guy was feeling a bit overlooked by a busy family, and the story centers around a bag that helps him to disappear, and the fun around that. And it's a story that's good for any time, not just Christmas, and for all ages as well. That was a nice book to remember. Question number 4, be honest. Did you read books assigned to you in school? Yes, I did. I read what was assigned at school as the years passed, and in my teens especially. In high school, I would bring the textbooks home from school, whether or not I had homework in the subjects or not. And I would be teased quite a lot for that, unnecessarily bringing books home. And of course, in literature class, we had extra books to read, and I would bring the textbooks home anyway, because there was, parts of the curriculum in the books that only so much was curriculum was covered during the school year. So there was a lot that actually wasn't covered. So I would take it home, and I would take the textbooks home and take it upon myself to read more beyond what was being taught in the classes, and especially for literature. I remember my final year of high school, we had British literature, was fantastic, but we only covered so much. There was that whole big textbook, but I took it home and I read it. It was wonderful. And number 5, where did you get your books as a child? When I was young and through my teens, primarily the school library or the local library. Also, I received, as I mentioned, receiving books for gifts, birthday, Christmas. Pat was sharing in her video, and it was lovely to remember this as well myself, the Scholastic Book Fair at school, which I suppose I could best describe it as sort of a pop-up reading event held at schools. And this was a great way to be able to access different books and have exposure to different books. The Scholastic Book Fair was a big deal, and it was a lovely when that day rolled around and we would get out of class for a while to look at books, and sometimes there was a catalog to order from, so that was very exciting. It was really exciting to be able to pick out my own reading and even order it, and then have the fun of waiting for the books to arrive. And it really made my heart happy to think about that. I loved that, the Scholastic Book Fair. And it was wonderful to know that this event is still happening in schools, that it's still an important part of bringing reading, access to reading to children. I just love that. And number 6, did you watch any television meant to inspire reading? Growing up in America, I have many fond memories of television when I was young, and I mentioned this in a recent video, or maybe 2 recently, the Little House on the Prairie TV series. That definitely inspired me to read the series of books that the television program was based on by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I loved all of those books, and I still love those books. I have very fond memories of reading those books. Something else in America at that time when I was younger, there was a lot of programming on PBS for younger people. Sesame Street included, which was a great program for educating children through the medium of television. And PBS also had a program, Reading Rainbow. I remember that fondly as well, which was a program designed to foster a love of books and reading in young people. As well as Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which was a sweet program. There was a story time element in the programs, in the form of there was a magical kingdom, the neighborhood of make believe. So yes, the good old days of public TV in America. Yeah, that was a good time. Number 7, what sort of genres or storylines did you like? I liked anything that had sort of gentle lessons in growing up and expanding your horizons, helping you to grow it as a person, and just a good story that was told about life and living, and something that was fun too, just humorous. I liked both stories that maybe had a serious edge, or just something just for fun as well, something to make me laugh. Number 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 8. Favorite children's or picture book? Favorite. That is hard. Favorite. I do remember being fascinated by those books by Beatrix Potter when I was really young. I was about 6 in first grade when I discovered those books in the school library, and there was just something really fascinating about this, the watercolor pictures. They had sort of a far away in time and place quality that I really enjoyed, and there was just something magical about animals wearing human clothes and living in very human situations. I found that very, very fascinating, and I still do. I love the works of Beatrix Potter. her execution of watercolor is just superb, and the stories, they're just so sweet and charming, and they have endured time for good reasons. Number 9, favorite chapter or big kids books. I would say that books for maybe readers growing, maybe advancing in reading comprehension. I do recall the works of Louisa May Alcott. I remember having some very pretty illustrated editions of Little Women and 8 Cousins. I also really loved the works of Beverly Cleary, the Ramona Quimby series, Judy Blume, the Fudge series for middle grade readers, Iggy's House, Freckle Juice, Then Again Maybe I Won't, and for teens, Deanie, Tiger Eyes, and of course, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I really loved that book. Gosh, I really loved Judy Blume's books when I was young and in my very early teens. I would say that I probably started digging more into classics as I was getting into the sort of 10, 12, 13, and into my teens. I was reading a lot of classics by then. And of course, as I was in high school, we were reading classics in literature classes at school. And I really developed a great love for the classics then. Sadly, I don't actually have any of my books from childhood. So this was really fun to just sit and think with the questions, think about the books from my childhood and remember them. I grew up in a house that it was I'm from the great state of Pennsylvania, and we have very hot, humid summers. And the house I grew up in, a lot of things were stored in the attic, and including books, as my sister and I grew up. And, as we go through stages, well, the books went up to the attic, didn't they? And unfortunately, there reached a time when some things in the attic were not kept. They were not being kept very well because of weather conditions, all the humidity, all the damp. It was creating a very bad environment for books, and some covers on books that were maybe sort of plasticky were melted together. I won't go on. It was a very sad day when a lot of books had to be hauled down from the attic, and we didn't keep those. I have not recollected books from my childhood. I could be. I mean, that would be really nice to have some of them, but I've not felt like I've needed to have them. And since TJ and I don't have human children, we had a cat child. I haven't felt like a deep need to have the books necessarily. And some of them I can get through the library, which is wonderful. I have done that before with Beatrix Potter books, and just reading editions, maybe not necessarily illustrated, of Louisa May Alcott, for instance, or Lucy Maud Montgomery, those types of authors and books. Question number 10. Favorite children's series? This was also fun to think about. I remember from when I was much younger, the Bernstein Bears series, a very long ongoing series of illustrated books by Jan and Stan Bernstein, which revolved around a family of bears. And these stories taught gentle lessons about growing up, learning how to be patient, respectful, loving, kind, among themselves and other people that they encounter. Really, really sweet stories. And there are a lot of omnibus editions with many stories in one book. They're there, and they're really lovely reading. I also remembered a series, they were called the Sweet Pickle series, by Jacqueline Reinach and Richard Hefter. I made a note of this one because I suddenly remembered it. They were usually very humorous stories, illustrated, fun stories. I remember I remembered Goof Off Goose, which was a story about a goose who procrastinated in all areas of life. That didn't always go very well, as you might imagine. And Very Worried Walrus, about a very nervous walrus. And he was attempting to ride his bike, and he was very worried about disastrous scenarios happening while he was out on this bike. A little bit heavy, but in a sweet sort of way. Sometimes I suppose some of these stories might seem silly nowadays, but they were very sweet. My sister and I, we both enjoyed these stories very much. It was really a lot of fun to think about the books that I read growing up, and there is a lot more. I don't remember all of them. I wish that I did. I wish that I was keeping notes when I was much, much younger. I didn't do that, but this was such a fun tag. Thank you, Fantastic Magical, for this tag that was great to look back on, especially being in a time in life now when it's nice to look back on things. And thank you so much for this tag, and thank you so much, Pat, for tagging me. And question number 11 was tag friends, and I will do that in the description box below. And I hope that you will join me in reflecting on books from your childhood. And please leave a comment. Please tell me about the books that you remember from your childhood. Tell me your favorites, and maybe even what you might remember from reading back in school days. Maybe something favorite that you received as a gift for a birthday or Christmas or other special occasion. Please share about your books from childhood. I would love to hear all about yours. And I thank you so much for being here with me today to walk down memory lane. And I wish you happy reading. And as always, I wish you many blessings. I will see you again very soon.